Welcome to The Explainer. Today we're going to unpack a really powerful mental model that pretty much flips our whole idea of newness completely on its head. It's called the Lindy Effect.
Okay, let's dive right in. We all kind of live in what you might call a newness trap, right? We're just constantly bombarded with new products, new apps, new ideas, and we have this built-in bias to think that whatever is new is automatically better, that it's got this long, bright future ahead of it.
But let's just pause for a second and test that idea. Let's ask a simple question.
Okay, so if you had to place a bet, which one of these do you think has a longer future ahead of it? Is it the hot new social media app that's only been around for a year? Or is it the wheel, which has been with us for 5,000 years? Now, the answer feels totally obvious, but the reason why it's so obvious, well, that's what gets us right to the heart of the Lindy effect.
That why is the principle we're about to define. And trust me, it's a super powerful way of figuring out what's going to stick around.
So this idea actually has a pretty cool history. It all started as just this informal observation among comedians and performers in a New York deli. Then it got some serious mathematical muscle from the work of Benoit Mandelbrot. And finally, it was really polished up and brought to the masses by the writer Nassim Nicholas Taleb.
So here it is, the core idea in a nutshell. For certain kinds of things, every single day they survive doesn't bring them one day closer to dying. No, instead, it actually implies they have an even longer future ahead. So get this, a book that's been in print for 100 years is expected to last for another 100 years. Wild, right?
Now, this slide is absolutely crucial because it highlights the single most important rule that Taleb pointed out. The Lindy effect only, and I mean only, applies to non-perishable things. A person is perishable. Of course, an 80-year-old has less time left than a 20-year-old. But an idea, a technology, they're non-perishable. The fact that a piece of tech has survived for 50 years is proof that it's tough, and it's probably going to survive another 50.
So why does this happen? I mean, what's really going on here? What's the mechanism behind this kind of strange effect?
Well, the key is to stop thinking about time as just this passive thing that ticks by. It's not. Time is an active, relentless, and sometimes brutal filtering process. You can see it here. Any new idea gets thrown into the ring. If it survives all the punches, competition, bugs, you name it, that's proof that it's got some real strength. And then, over time, that survival builds on itself, creating this massive advantage that makes it even tougher to beat.
And if we look at this statistically, the world of ideas doesn't look like a nice, neat bell curve where everything just clusters around some average lifespan. No, it's way more extreme than that.
And this chart illustrates the difference perfectly. See, perishable things, like a human life, they follow that predictable bell curve. But non-perishable things, they have what's called a fat tail. What that means is most new ideas fail really, really fast, but a tiny few survive for an incredibly long time. And the longer they last, the farther out on that tail they travel.
Okay, so this isn't just some abstract theory. You can actually see the Lindy effect playing out all around you, everywhere, once you know what to look for.
Just think about the technology you're using right now. The internet literally runs on rules and protocols that were designed back in the 70s. The C programming language from that same time, it's still powering a huge chunk of the world's software. I mean, despite thousands of newer options, these old-timers have survived because they just work. They're robust, and they're foundational.
And this isn't just for tech, not by a long shot. It applies to companies, to big ideas, and even to culture. I mean, think about it. Coca-Cola has been around for over a century. Ancient Greek ideas like Stoicism are having a major comeback. Their survival for so long is a huge signal that they have real enduring quality.
But, and this is a big but, this is not a perfect law of nature. It's a super useful rule of thumb, a heuristic, but you have to know its limits.
First and foremost, you absolutely have to remember that distinction between perishable and non-perishable. I'm going to say it again because it's that important. Trying to apply the Lindy effect to people, or, a carton of milk, that's the #1 mistake people make.
The theory also can't predict what are called black swan events, those huge disruptive shocks that change everything. So the idea of photography, of capturing an image with light, that's ancient, it's Lindy-proof. But the method of using film, even though it was around for over 150 years, was almost completely wiped out by the shift to digital cameras. And on top of that, you have to remember survivorship bias. We only ever see the winners, right? We don't see the thousands of ideas that didn't make it. Plus,
Trying to figure out the true age of something complicated like the internet, well, it's not always so simple.
So, knowing its power and knowing its limits, how can you actually start using the Lindy effect in your own life?
Really, the best way to think of the Lindy effect is as a mental shortcut for making better judgments. It's a powerful antidote to what you could call naive progressivism, that automatic, default assumption that whatever is new must be an improvement. It forces you to respect things that have been time-tested.
So here's a simple 3-step way to use it. First, always ask yourself, is this thing perishable or non-perishable? That's step 1. If it's non-perishable, then evaluate its age. How long has it already been around? What has it survived? And finally, use that age as a really important piece of data when you make a decision. Put more trust, more weight on things that have proven they can stick around.
And that leaves us with a final thought. Just look around your own world, at the tools you use every day, the ideas you really trust, the companies you rely on, and ask yourself, what here has truly earned its place by surviving the relentless filter of time?